Welcome to our pre-service chat. It's great to be with you today, and it's great to be here with Ruth Parrish.
Thank you.
And Ruth, I heard about you actually not too long ago when my wife is an elementary teacher, and you came into her class, and I think you did some Indigenous storytelling and some drumming with her, a bunch of grade twos, and that's
fun.
something you do fairly often, as well as you also help out with our learning community here at our church. So if you've been coming to those, you might recognize Ruth a little bit. So I'll hand it over to you. Give us maybe in a minute or two, I know that's tough, give us a quick introduction of where you're from and who you are.
I was born in Skidegate on Haida Gwaii.
Yeah.
My father became a believer, and so we were back and forth from Haida Gwaii to Prairie Bible Institute. So my first 5 years of my life, I basically spent on Haida Gwaii with my grandparents and my family there.
Yeah.
Haida Gwaii is special for many reasons.
Yeah.
It's not only beautiful and magical, but that's where my maternal ancestors were born and raised and lived their lives. And so there's that connection there for me to Haida Gwaii. So,
oh, that's cool. And maternal ancestry is big for Indigenous peoples.
We are a matrilineal society, so we trace our heritage and our lines and our ancestry through our mothers.
Yeah.
And so when we introduce ourselves, we introduce our mothers and our grandmothers.
Oh,
and our
cool. Well, I love that.
Yeah.
That's great. So, when you helped out with our learning community not too long ago, you opened it up for questions, and I thought it was really interesting because you asked the person who was asking a question to first share their name, which is very typical, but then you asked them to also share where they were born. And that's not something that's typically asked of me. So why was that something that was important for you to ask?
So as Canadians, when we meet new people, we get to know their names.
Yeah.
And then the next question we ask is,
what do you
do?
do?
You do? Yeah. So when Indigenous people introduce themselves in ceremony, you're talking about who you are, who you're connected to, and who your ancestors are, and so where you belong. So it's about who you are, and so this became really significant to me. Like, it was really well illustrated. I was in a classroom, and the Indigenous liaison, she had the students introduce themselves, say their parents' names, and say where they were born. And so there was this connection between even these short histories of these students connected you to them, and it gave you an understanding of some of where they were from and a little bit about who they were. Right. So I thought it was important enough to carry that on into other arenas, and where
I love the and that's a shift in culture. The importance of typical Western culture is your value is from what you can contribute and what you can work towards, whereas the value in who you are and where you're from, that's a really cool journey. So I thought that was a really interesting question that you brought up there. When also I've been kind of noticing as I'm getting more into Indigenous culture and meeting more people is the importance of land. And I went for a walk this morning, and there was the sunrise, and it was beautiful. And I've always thought that was beautiful. And I think land is something to enjoy and to admire and certainly take care of. But as I've been meeting more Indigenous people and getting more engaged in the culture, from an Indigenous perspective, it seems like land is something more than that. Would you be able to elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes. Land for Indigenous people, it has more significance than just landscape. And so the significance of lands begin with origin stories. And so the Wasanic people, for instance, have a story of Creator placing the first Wasanic man in the Saanich Peninsula. There's a specific place, I can't remember where it was. Haida stories, have origin stories of the supernaturals placing Haida people on Haida Gwaii.
Yeah.
We've been here for at least 10,000 years.
Yeah.
On the land. Not only belonging here, but as part of the landscape, part of the life that's here.
Yeah.
Land is not a commodity.
Yeah.
It's a place of belonging and a place to live, and the land gives you what you need, right? You have food and water. You have building materials and clothing materials. So the land gives you all these things, and you belong here. You live in harmony with it, right? And so there's a deeper sense of connection to the land, to where you belong, and that. My mom went, before she passed away in 2012, said this, and I've never heard her say this. Haida Gwaii belongs to me.
Wow.
I belong to Haida Gwaii. So there was, even after all these years of being away, there was still that heart connection to where she belonged, right? So, yeah.
That's so special. It's not something to be used, but something to live in harmony with.
Yeah.
That's
Christians have their origin story.
Yeah.
Right? We have an origin story where God created us and placed us in a particular place.
Yeah.
And He gave us a mandate to care for the earth, right? To manage and care for where we live, right? And I think that general principle, that general idea can go out through the whole world. In a believer's heart, and that we can belong to places, and we can love them, and we can be part of the landscape, right?
That's really beautiful. There's in Indigenous teachings and way of looking and perspective that can add to us as a Christian. And I love. We could get into some stuff here. Indigenous stories, and a friend of mine told me about even the Indigenous flood story, the local one here, where the people went up to, I believe, Mount Newton, and there's so much interconnectivity and learning that we have from our stories from the Bible and from these Indigenous verbal stories that have been so cool. So, with that information that we have there. Land acknowledgements. So we know the importance of land, and I first heard about land acknowledgements maybe 5-10 years ago, and to be honest, this might sound bad, but when I first heard it, I thought, oh, that's kind of like a PC, politically correct thing, and I thought that was the significance of it. My perspectives have changed since then. What is the significance of land acknowledgements, and why do we do them?
Okay, I just want to read the one that UVic has on their website. And so
please do.
I've memorized it. So we acknowledge with respect the Lekwungen peoples on whose traditional territory we live and work and play, and the Songhees, Esquimalt, and Wasanic peoples whose historic relationships with the land continue to this day. And so what a beautiful thing. I think the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, they functioned from 2008 to 2015, really brought an awareness of the impact of residential schools on Indigenous people. And the 94 calls to action have been really significant in political and educational arenas. Of course they have. It's a good place to start, right? And churches like Central Baptist, I'm really, really glad that those are taken seriously. And people are becoming more educated about the history of these places. So land, it can be, ho-hum, or, again, we're hearing this again. But the other thing we can do is engage with it. When we, it's a respectful way of acknowledging where we live. right? And who belonged to this land before we came here. And I really appreciate it. Every time I hear a land acknowledgement, there's one that I heard in First People's House at University of Victoria, and it came from a heart that was full of gratitude for being able to live here and to study and work and play here. And I just really appreciated that, and I thought, yes, we can engage in those land acknowledgements and appreciate and respect the people who were here. And it's a good launching place for a conversation, right? It's a good place to begin learning. It's a good place to learn about place names and history. And so, I think they're really important.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. It was actually your daughter who you have actually audited some classes with for Indigenous learning. And she said something that part of my learning journey was something she said. And she said it's not just a thing that like white people have to do to acknowledge. It's something that she does as a Indigenous women, and it's something that we can all do together to honor and respect the land and the people that we're here living and working and playing. It's not meant to be a thing to guilt people. It's a joyous thing. We can celebrate the beautiful land that we live in. Do you think there is any steps, I don't know if I asked you this one before, that the church can do to move towards acknowledging land and...
reading is a good place. There's one book in particular called Saltwater People by Dave Elliott Sr., and it's just a paperback, and you can read that online. It's available. And there's other books that I can send you a list of, and you can put it up somewhere. And reading and becoming more aware of the history here and the name places. That's a really good place to start. It's just
so Saltwater People, which is a great book. I have read a little bit of that.
Oh, yeah, it is a good.
And he's, I believe...
It's the history of this particular place.
That's the Spanish Peninsula, right? So Saltwater People, some other resources that we're going to put in, maybe in the tag here of YouTube, so we'll get those out to you. Thank you, Ruth,
Thank you for
so
having
much
me.
for sharing with us as we learn about land and engaging with our Indigenous neighbors. Really appreciate it. We are unfortunately out of time. We could keep on going. But thank you for joining in with us, and we're going to throw you over to the service. Have a wonderful day.
Welcome to the SBC live stream. We have a few announcements for you today. Serve the City Christmas is back. This year, we're partnering with Victoria Women's Transition Center, Angel Tree, and One Up. Visit our website to sign up for the individual or family that you would like to buy for. Then, donate the monetary amount or drop off your gift at the church office. Even though Serve the City looks different this year, we're still looking for teams of volunteers. One team to do the shopping for the gifts, another team to do gift wrapping. If you're interested in joining one of these teams, please email Rick Boomer at office@saanchbaptist.org. Thanks for joining us. Now back to the service.
Christmas time, and you know what's sweet? Serve the City Christmas, where we help those in need. It looks a little different, so listen here as I tell you how to get involved this year. Head to our website, that's the first thing to do. It's got all the information that you ever need, fool. Hit the donate button, help us buy lots of gifts. Give hope to kids and families you can cheer at Christmas. What?
What? Well, we had a lot of fun filming that video, and hopefully it gets stuck in your head just like it gets stuck in my head every time I listen to it. And I have a challenge for the kids or the youth, or maybe if anybody who wants to have some fun with this rap, it's pretty easy. You could probably catch on to the words pretty quick, and I would love if you guys took a video of yourself performing this rap, because that would just make my day. So feel free to do that, and just send it to us, because that would be fun. We've got a great morning of worship in store for us. It's already been great so far, but we're going to head into our time of worship. I'm going to read this call to worship based on Matthew 11, verses 28 to 30. It says, "Brothers and sisters, boys and girls, come and worship. Even if you're tired and worn out, come and worship. Lay down the heavy things that you're carrying. Yes, come and worship. Listen to what Jesus wants to tell you today. Come and listen. Come and worship. See if you can discover how Jesus wants to use you this week. Yes, come and worship. For Jesus is humble and gentle, and he will give us everything we need to follow him." So let's do that this morning. Let's worship our God who is worthy of our praise. Every song, worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Jesus. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. Your breath, it's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise to you only. It's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise to you only. And all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. And all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Sing praise, my soul, find strength in joy. Let His words lead you on. Do not forget His great faithfulness. Finish all He's begun. So take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Hold on to your hope. Your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. So take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Hold on to your hope. As your triumph unfolds, He's never failing. He's never failing. And you who holds the stars, who calls them each by name, will surely keep your promise to me, that I will rise in your victory. Who holds the stars, who calls them each by name, will surely keep your promise to me, that I will rise in your victory. Take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Hold on to your hope. As your triumph unfolds, He's never failing. He's never failing. Take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Hold on to your hope. As your triumph unfolds, He's never failing. He's never failing. God, we praise you because you are a God that never fails. That you're a God who keeps your promises. That in your word, one of your promises is that one day we will rise with you. That we will be freed of all pain and suffering and trial, tribulation. And it can be hard to be in that space of waiting. And I believe many of us are in a season of waiting right now, whether we're just waiting out this pandemic, waiting for peace, waiting for reconciliation, waiting for hope. God, would you help us to not lose sight of you in the season of waiting? But would you make us even more attentive to your Spirit? Because even in seasons of waiting, you are still moving. You are still working. Even if it's simply in lending us another breath. God, we thank you for who you are. We thank you that you desire to know us, that you care for us, and that you are a God of hope and victory and life. We pray all of these things in your powerful name. Amen.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good to have you with us online this morning. And just before I introduce our guest speaker this morning, I'd like to share with you just a few announcements, family announcements. As you know, last Thursday, Dr. Bonnie Henry, our provincial health officer, instituted some new guidelines and directives for us. And I really want to encourage you. Every week I record a little video piece that is put up on Saanich Baptist Instagram and Facebook social media feeds on Saturday. And yesterday I did, the video piece was on an update for us as a church around COVID-19. I want to encourage you after the service to go on to our Facebook page and watch that video. But let me just summarize it quickly for you. Dr. Henry said all in-person social and religious gatherings are to stop for the next 2 weeks. And so with the exceptions of our team here that can gather to put on our online service, we're allowed to do that. Additionally, the CPC daycare can continue to meet, and any support groups like Al-Anon that meet in our church are allowed to continue. Other than that, all our gatherings are canceled, and that includes home church, youth ministry, and all our gatherings for the next 2 weeks are canceled. Some of them are going to move online, so stay tuned. But in this time, let's make sure that we are caring for and praying for one another. If you know there's a need out there, please reach out and meet that need. Our office is still open, and so feel free to call the office and let us know of any needs, any ways we can pray for you. Together as a church, we are going to journey through this well, and we are going to minister and shine brightly as a church during these days. So I want to encourage you after to watch that video. I go into a little more detail. Also, church, I just saw our financial numbers for October, and with a little help from the government and some government subsidy, our income and our expenses are basically the same for the month. So we basically broke even, and that includes a generous gift at Thanksgiving to MSQ for computers of $8,000. So I want to thank you, church, for your continued financial support and in stewarding God's resources well during this difficult time. One more thing, and that is this. Many of you know Vern Scott. Vern Scott has been a longtime member of our church. She now resides at the Sydney Care Home. But yesterday, Vern turned 95. So happy birthday, Vern. Vern is someone who used to be on staff many, many years ago at Central Baptist Church. And Vern had a big part in my life and the lives of many, many other people. And so, Vern, we want to wish you a very happy 95th birthday. Well, if you're part of Saanich, you know that for the last while, we've been on a journey with our Victoria Dream Center, wanting to walk alongside Indigenous people. We want to learn, we want to serve, we want to be part of the reconciliation process. And so we invited Cheryl Bear to come and speak with us about lamenting from an Indigenous perspective. This wraps up our Lament series. Next week, we're going to start Advent. But Cheryl would have loved to have been here to do this live, but because of COVID, this is a recorded sermon, but I know it is going to bless you. So let's listen to Cheryl together.
Hi there, everybody in Saanich at Saanich Baptist Church. Hadi Suinda, Cheryl Bear Slee, Natle Weston, Damdenyu Slee. My name is Cheryl Bear, and I'm from the beautiful village of Natle Weston First Nation. I'm from the Bear clan. We say Damdenyu. I'm really happy to. I think I said in an email to Kim. I'm really happy to be here, talking to you about grief. It sounds like a very strange thing to say, but but it's good. It's a good topic to talk about. It's important. I think we don't do it enough. I don't think that the church has a good theology of grieving. And yeah, and for me as an Indigenous person, I'll talk a little bit about grieving and sort of like some of the things that we do that as Indigenous people that might be different from the rest of Canadians. But I'd like to start off by just saying that in my life I've experienced a lot of death, and some of my earliest memories are of standing around a grave, an open grave. So, and for sure, the one incident that really affected my life was the death of my Uncle Norman when I was 5 that summer, or that spring when he passed, and I turned 6 that fall. And yeah, it changed my life. I remember trying to talk about him when I was like 30 years old, 35 years old, and I would start to try to share what happened or how I loved him, and I couldn't talk. My throat would just froze up, my eyes full of tears. I always said I was paralyzed with grief, or I was frozen with grief. And I believe that of course, that age group is a very tender age to experience trauma. It does affect you, I think, pretty strongly when you're that young. And the year before my Uncle Norman's death, my other uncle passed away as well, my Uncle Bob. And so yeah, I feel like I was born into grief as well. I mean, my mom suffered a lot of grief. She lost her mom when she was 4, and just lots. And I don't I kind of squirm a little bit when I think about how people think about that or react to the fact that we have a lot of deaths in our community. And I think it's because there's an assumption sometimes that we experience a lot of death because we're so messed up, or we're so we have so many problems, social, whatever problems, and therefore we experience death so much more. And I do think that the history of colonization has definitely left us with a lot of brokenness, a ton of brokenness, and the continued attempted assimilation, it still sort of like has knocked us on our knees. One of my elders said, how can we can barely stand up, we can barely stand, and we're on our faces. How can we do anything? And I think that I appreciated his insight. I think we're very, very strong, very, very resilient people. But yeah, I think that we have a a lot of brokenness for sure. But I don't think that's the reason why we experience a lot more death in our communities. I think it's because we're so connected. I think it's because we have connections. Like my mom, I remember we'd be driving around in Vanderhoof. That's the closest town to my community, Notley. It's about half an hour away. And an hour north, there's Fort St. James. 15 minutes south, there's Saikas First Nation, and Nakazli is north, and then lots of other communities as well. And there'd be people walking around, Native people walking around in Vanderhoof. And my mom would be like, hey, there's, and she'd name them, say where they're from, and then she'd say, and that's your cousin. And so we had all of these relations and from all over the place. And my mom knew how we were connected. And we got a copy of our family tree, and she had like wrote all over in it, different people, starred different people. She knew our family really well. And she passed away a year ago, October. So at the end of October. So still kind of struggling with that as well. So yeah, that connection, that's a beautiful thing. And they say that, the longer you grieve about someone, the more you have loved them. It's a sign of great love. And I used to get chided by people sometimes for grieving that long. They'd be like, I remember one person said to me, "Don't you think your uncle would want you to, like, not get over it, but to, to stop or to be done with grieving?" And I didn't know, really. Funny, I was going to Bible school, I was pastoring, but I was still have this really strong grief. And it wasn't until I did a ceremony, actually, on a mountain, with another chief who was teaching us to pray. And he gathered the branches of 5 trees, and he made a small fire. I used to say he made a fire, and it always sounds like a campfire. But then he asked us to walk over it. Now I say it was a small fire, so people don't imagine I'm doing some great feat. It wasn't. It was just a beautiful little ceremony. And he said, "I want you to walk over this fire 3 times, and the smoke is going to carry your prayers to the Creator. And whatever is troubling you, whatever is burdening you, I want you to leave it here. I want you to put it on this fire and put it on the smoke, and then it's going to be carried to the Creator." And it was beautiful. This was the late former chief of Sycas, Stanley Thomas, and then his mom came walking out of the woods in the middle of nowhere. We're up on their mountain. It's in Sycas, and he said, "Oh, here's my mom. She's a medicine woman." And this was, my kids were little, so it must have been 20 years ago at least. And I was like, medicine woman. At the time I had no idea, but now that I know, that just means healer. She was a beautiful healer. But Christians put so many things on us about, it's all witchcraft, and there's bad stuff that happens in every community. There's bad people doing bad things in every single community, but she wasn't one of them. She walked out of the forest, and Stan said, "Hey, this is my mom, a medicine woman." He says, "Mom, why don't you pray for us?" Because we had just done this ceremony. And so she prayed this beautiful prayer. She started off, "Heavenly Father." She prayed for us, and then she said, "Fill us with your Holy Spirit." And then she prayed some more, and then she concluded by saying, "In the precious name of Jesus." And that was such a powerful time for me. And I didn't realize it until maybe a year later. I was talking about my Uncle Norman, and I could actually say his name, and I could actually talk about the events of his death, and I didn't choke up, and I didn't cry. But I think also that I had experienced a significant death, at least one significant death, for every year of my entire life, if not more. Just close friends, cousins. And some of those were really bad. Like, some of them were like a distant cousin when I was 15 who was murdered, and she was so young. She was, anyway. I won't go into the details. And then when I was 18, my cousin as well, Kim, was kidnapped, and she was murdered. And so those kind of things. Like, you just, like, when that happened to Kim, I felt like my soul walked away from me, and it was such a hard thing to deal with. So I think that there was like compound grief, compound upon compound, and it kind of came out when I talk about my Uncle Norman. It was like that was the pivot, where everything sort of went from there. And being in a church, and being a kid and then a teenager in the church, I didn't ever feel like the church had any ability to help me. And they had funerals, they had, people dying, but not like how I had people in my life dying. And the church that I went to, I think I've talked to you guys before, you've heard me talk about this before, my sad early childhood church experiences, where most people go, "What kind of church were you going to?" And I won't say their name, just to save them some shame, I guess. But the idea that was talked about in this church was that if you were being a good Christian, and you were obedient to God, and you were living a good Christian life, then everything in your life should be good. You should have a nice home, you should have lots of money, nice car, good family, everybody in your family is healthy and whole, and all of that stuff. And so I just would look at all that and be like, well, I had a nice home. My dad worked hard and gave everything for our family, still does. And my mom took care of us. We always had food, and so there were good things in my life. But as far as everybody healthy and happy and not very much death, I was like, wow, I'm probably like one of the damned. Like, count me in as like one of the damned, because my life is not good in that way. There's so much grieving. And so the church had this really dumb ideas about grieving, and that you just almost like glorify the next life, which is, in some ways it's good to have that hope in heaven and to have faith that we're going to be with Jesus. Those are all good things, but I think we can be like too hyper focused on that, where we're, too spiritually minded, no heavenly good. No, too so heavenly minded, you're no earthly good. That's the saying. And I think having a balance in those things is important, because I just have seen the extreme in so many ways. I think the Catholic Church has actually got some good, better theology than evangelicals, as far as the concepts of suffering and grief. I think they might have a little bit, and yeah, maybe in old school ways they maybe went a little bit too far with the suffering and self-flagellation and stuff. So yeah, I guess nobody's perfect. So all through my childhood, I remember hearing stories about, the victory in Jesus and the overcoming church, and the overcoming, all of these themes of just like always overcoming and always being victorious, and I liked that for sure. It was always helpful, but I never saw it really in my own life. Like I knew I had overcome a lot of things. I knew I was getting healed of things, and God was with me, but that victory stuff, I just never resonated, because I also had this whole other side of, just a lot of death and a lot of grief. So one of the first times one of the times where I feel like was a moment in my salvation walk. And I remember taking a class at Regent College where they talked about salvation isn't like one event, where you just kind of say the prayer, say the sinner's prayer, and then it's like kaboom, it happens. But rather it's like a journey of salvation. And I think there's like, it is like, I think, an event, but I think it solidifies or it grows, or maybe the salvation experience, I don't know. And there's some anyway, this class Regent College was a good one. Conversion and Transformation, I think the name of it was. And I certainly have felt like there have been moments in my life. My actual conversion was actually kind of crappy, to be honest. It was just me at a Bible camp when I was 8, trying not to go to hell. So I prayed the sinner's prayer. I was too afraid to even go up and stand at the altar. So I feel like I failed my sinner's prayer, my conversion experience in a lot of ways. Didn't even go up. Oh my goodness, failure. But I prayed along with the preacher from the back of the room or wherever I was. It just was like, I hope it worked. It worked. I hope it took. And how do you know if it took? I didn't feel anything. But I do remember the first time I heard the name of God in the Old Testament, which we'll say was one of the names or a picture of Jesus, and that's in Isaiah, where Jesus is called the Man of Sorrows. And that name, when I heard that name, and it helped me so much. I actually thought I felt more saved when I heard that name, and I thought, oh my goodness, maybe this one could understand me and know me and love me, and maybe I could love this one. And that was a moment for me, a very beautiful moment. And then there's a picture of of Jesus by Roy Henry Vickers Jr., and it's called Easter, and it's got a tear on Jesus' face. And I always just felt like, and then a crown of thorns, and so it's very much a picture of the suffering servant kind of a thing, and it's so powerful. And so those things really helped me to grieve, and I think that our individualistic society, our modern sort of way of being is it takes away from that. And also, we're supposed to be sort of these overcomers. We're supposed to have all of this faith. We're not supposed to be down or doubting or angry or hurting or sad. We're not supposed to be those things. We're supposed to be Christians that are, God is with us, so everything is good. And that kind of fake persona, I feel like, is maybe a little bit more televangelist kind of style, but it's definitely evident there in the church. And people get tired. I think church people have, in my experience as a young person, people get tired if they just keep hearing you, crying around about stuff, and they want you to get over it. And grief doesn't have a deadline. Grief doesn't have there's no end. There, people always say, oh, yeah, I used to feel sad about this, but now I'm over it. And when it comes to the death of a loved one, I don't think there is any getting over it. I think it definitely changes with time. They say time heals all wounds. I'm not sure that you heal from it, but it does change. It's maybe not as sharp of a pain, but it certainly never goes away. So I really lean on that scripture or that name of God, the man of sorrows. And then the Bible says that God collects our tears in a bottle, and I just think, oh my goodness, that is so beautiful. When I cry out to God, I have faith that the one who collects my tears, has collected my many, many tears, is also the one who will hear my cry and come to help me. So those things fill me with hope and faith. Those names, those ideas of God. And and you guys are in Lamentations, I believe, and that's a tough book. Man, that's a tough book. There are some things in there that you can't unsee. You can't unread that stuff, and you kind of want to. And I remember going through, like, listening to the TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation events, and one was in Victoria. They had them all over Canada, and I went to quite a few of them. So I really literally heard hundreds of testimonies of stories, and it was so hard. And after that, a couple of months after, well, I remember during one of them, I think we were in Port Alberni, and I was just started to rattle just listening to the stories, and I was just like, I gotta get out of here. And I was having, I think, a panic attack. But having listened to so much trauma and then experiencing that trauma vicariously led me to have a pretty serious crisis of faith, because this was, kept the church partnering with the government not to bring the gospel or education. They didn't have a policy of education, they had a policy of assimilation. So those stories, they took the wind out of me. And I remember just sort of praying and being like, angry prayer, and being like, God, where were you when those beautiful little native babies were just being brutalized? They were the victims of some of the most horrific crimes against children, and it happened in Canada. And God, where were you? And I did experience a lot of a great crisis of faith. And one of the books that I turned to during that crisis of faith was actually Lamentations. I read that book, and I had read it, of course, in Bible school and studied it a little bit, not enough for sure. I think the Western church could definitely use a lot more study on Lament. So God bless you guys for doing this, and thank you for inviting me to talk about this from my perspective. But that book helped me. Reading that book, it gave me a bit more perspective. And I kind of felt like, on 9/11, when 9/11 happened, somebody called us early in the morning, and I forgot what time it was. They called us, but like maybe 7:30 or 7 or something, and watch TV, turn on the TV. And so I ran to the TV and I saw the Twin Towers happening and all of those things. I think I saw the second plane go live into the building and then watched the buildings come down. Just horrific day, right? Just the most, and I was just glued to the TV. I was so upset. And we're across the continent, and we're in a different country, but I kept my kids home from school that day, and they were just in elementary school, but I was like, I want my babies close to me. And then I wanted to call my dad. My mom was a residential school survivor. My dad was born in what would become East Germany, and he escaped before they put the border up and all the before it became a big jail. And he was up north. He was in Alaska traveling with my brothers and his sister, and so I couldn't get a hold of him for a few days, and I was just sort of like, I need to talk to my daddy. And so finally I got a hold of him, and I said, Dad, 9/11, like, what the heck, what's going on? And then he had a really great perspective. He said, well, Cheryl, he said, this is the worst thing that's ever happened in your lifetime. And he just put it in perspective. He helped me, and it didn't make the situation better. It didn't heal everything. It didn't bring anybody back, from the dead, or it didn't change one terrible thing that happened. But it helped me because it gave me a little bit of perspective on that. And I believe that's what Lamentations did for me as well. It put things into perspective that, there are suffering, there are people who struggle with some of the deepest, darkest things, and yet they are able to overcome those things. Yet they are able to, with God's help and the help of a good, strong community, able to walk through those things and come through healed and come through soft and not bitter and full of love and not full of hate. And so those things, and also the Psalms gave me a lot. Eugene Peterson's encouragement, that he says that the Bible the Psalms let people pray stuff like terrible things, and Dr. Peterson said it's not that God allowed those things to he didn't answer those prayers, but he allowed them to be prayed. And and there's evidence in the Psalms that there's doubt, there's anger, there's grief, there's revenge. All of those things are in the Psalms, and that also gave me a lot of peace, because I had a lot of all of those things. I had a lot of anger for that, and that God would allow me to pray those things. Eugene Peterson says that it's that God allows us to be human. And so I'm grateful for that. So one of the things about Indigenous ways of grieving, we do things quite differently. We have where I'm from, in our potlatch style. Well, I think all across Canada, we Indigenous people still always would dig the grave, and then I think the family members always fill it in. It's where I'm not sure exactly other nations, but for us, we have a potlatch, and we have workers. We hire workers to dig the grave for us from different clans. And then when we're at the grave site, we lower the coffin, and there's guys there that know how to do that, and they help out a lot. And then afterwards, the men in the family, and they've often let me do this as well, but that we fill in the grave for our loved one. So it's a very hands-on. We usually have a wake. We have watch people who stay up all night with your loved one in the house. And back in the day, they even used to wash the bodies themselves. So it's very hands-on, and it's very there's a lot of open casket. So you just experience the rawness of death. And I just heard I think it was on a TED Talk on grief and the beauty of a body, and just touching the body and feeling the coldness, feeling the warmth gone, and all of those things which help us somehow to manage grief. And I think it was an Irish man who was sharing that particular TED Talk. I forgot his name though, but beautiful. And I felt like, oh yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do as well. And so to me, with our after we have the funeral, we'll have a potlatch. So we'll pay out all those people who did the work, who dug the grave, and who were the watchmen, and people who cooked for different things. And everybody in the clan can give, and people from other clans can give as well. And then that's how you pay for everything. That's how you do the business. And then after 1 year, you have a headstone potlatch. And this is probably the most beautiful part, I think, about our ceremonies. This has really helped me as well. I guess potlatch isn't a ceremony, but it's a social, business, political in some ways, like our hereditary chief system. So it's all of those things all at once. But the headstone potlatch is to me a time where you place the headstone, and then you have, at the end of that potlatch, you ask, does this person have any unfinished business, with the owe any money or whatever? Is there anything that's outstanding? And then you call it, you wait, going once, going twice, okay, and then you say, this person's business is finished. And it's just the most beautiful, powerful, painful words you can hear, that this loved one's, because it takes about a year. It takes a year of the firsts, right? The first Christmas, the first birthday, your birthday and their birthday without them. You have to close bank accounts. You have to move money. If you're the executor, there's so many things that you have to take care of, and it sometimes will take a long time. Selling maybe property or dealing with property, and so to me, that first year is your grace year. That's where you have to be kind to yourself. You have to give yourself grace. You have to just feel everything. You have to feel every birthday. You have to try to gather as much as you can with your family members and remember and talk about these things. And that 1 year memorial, that for my mom's memorial, we weren't able to do the headstone this year because of some issues with her actual grave. It sunk a little bit, so we had to refill so we couldn't do this October the headstone. So we're going to wait another 6 months. But instead, we gathered on the day of my mom's death, the 1 year memorial of her death, and my brother and my sons, my brother's family, and I. And my mom loved to play games. She taught us. We played games, card games. Shanghai Rummy was one of her funny games that she really liked. And we played all kinds of board games. One of her favorite was Aggravation. And we just had a great night. We were laughing, and we just felt like we kind of honored her well with that. So the 1 year, that's sort of what I tell people. Give yourself 1 year, and then at the 1 year memorial, that's when you can even begin to think about even being normal again, because death changes us. Death changes everything, and it's you don't just bounce back. So 1 full year, and it might feel like a long time. I know I got bereavement. We lost somebody else this a little while ago, and I was at a new job, and I think I got 3 days bereavement, and I was like, what the heck is that? It's not long enough, but they wouldn't give me 1 year bereavement. I don't think I don't think they like me that much. But definitely take that time. And it's good to take that time. So I think maybe my time is up here. Oh, I've been talking for 30 minutes now. I'm sorry if that's too long. You might need to split this into 2, or just edit. I'm going to send it to you on QuickTime, so maybe you can edit it. But thank you again for including me in this talk. Thank you for being so welcoming to me, Saanich Baptist Church. I really appreciate you guys, and look forward to seeing Steve and family and church family again sometime when COVID is not an issue. Oh, God, let it be. God bless you guys all. Much love.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, Cheryl, about your experiences. And John 16 says, in this world you will have trouble and trial and suffering. It's not a, you might, or this could happen to you. It's part of our human experience. You will know suffering. And I feel like throughout the span of this series, it's been so obvious the tension that we as Christians hold, that there's so obviously a call to experience grief and to not rush away from it or push it down and not think about it. And that's on one side of the tension. And then on the other side, we as Christians have this hope that allows us to say, it is well, even amidst pain and sorrow and suffering. It's not that we don't experience those emotions and we don't experience those things, but it's that in the midst of those, we can have hope in our God. And so we're going to sing this song, It Is Well With My Soul, which I feel like holds this tension well, in that it says, when sorrows like sea billows roll, when they take over you, when Satan is buffeting you, which means like when he's pushing against you like a storm, when we are overcome by grief, by sorrow, we can still look to our God and find his peace and his comfort and say, it is well. So we're going to sing this song.
When peace like a river
Thank you, Kim and team, for leading us well today. And thank you to the tech team, those behind the scenes, for your tireless work each and every Sunday. We really appreciate what you do. And thank you, Cheryl, for teaching us well this morning. I want to encourage you, whether you're an individual or a family, there was a lot there to reflect on, and I want to encourage you to do that. Also want to encourage you to continue worship now by the giving of your tithes and offerings. And there are a number of ways you can give. You can find a link on our live stream page and also on our website. And thank you again for your continued financial support. During this time, probably more than most times, prayer is really important. As I said earlier, we want to pray and care for one another. And we have people that want to pray for you. And if you're interested in being prayed for, I want to encourage you to go to our resources button on our homepage, and that will tell you and lead you to fill in a form that will allow us to pray for you well. Also, if you need prayer during the week, I want to encourage you to call the office. This is a time to pray for one another and care for one another, and also care for others. As we go through the week, let's be really aware of those in our life who need an extra touch of the love of Jesus in these days. Let me close this morning with this benediction. Let the majesty of the Father be the light by which you walk. The compassion of the Son be the love by which you walk. The presence of the Spirit by the power by which you walk. Amen. Have a great week. We'll see you next week, 10 a.m. Blessings.